So we're joined all the way from the beautiful city of London in the United Kingdom, one of my favorite cities in the world, by the amazing property entrepreneur, T'earna. I had to make sure I said her name right. We thank you, founder of Rhema Housing there in London. We thank you so much for taking some time for us. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. This is our entrepreneurship class, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Option Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us from all the way across the Atlantic today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we obviously want to talk about all the great things you're doing. You and your sister started the business, become property entrepreneurs, but
Yeah,
you did not just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. You went to
I
university
didn't.
at Nottingham University there in England. Huge, huge university. Got a degree
Hmm.
in marketing. Worked in the corporate world for a few years. And
Yes.
then you and your sister opened your business. So just take us through your educational background and how that led you to want to become an entrepreneur with your sister.
Okay, so I'll start with school. I actually studied economics, and I found that I really liked the consumer side to things, but I wanted to know a bit more than just business. So I studied economics for about 3 years or so. I got a GCSE in economics, and then I went to college and studied business studies, which was more so the generic knowledge to things. Then after that, I realized, okay, I like marketing. The marketing is more so the digital marketing, a bit of market research. It was a vast range of things. So I decided to have a degree in that. Now I know that I don't need a degree, but it was more so I also wanted the university experience. So I thought, let me pick a degree that is fun, and that I can actually use in multiple different careers because at the time I didn't know what I wanted to go into. Property wasn't even on my mind when I was in university. So I did marketing with an aspect of I need something that's going to allow me to shine in different careers. So after I graduated from university about 2 years ago, I actually went into 9 to 5. I went into sales. I didn't really like it, I'll be completely honest. I didn't like sales. I was there for about a year and a half maybe. And then I transitioned into recruitment. But then I found that with recruitment, I don't actually like that as well. And then I realized maybe it's the 9 to 5 I do not like. So when it came to wanting something of my own and building something of my own, I wanted something that can be passed down from generation to generation. And property is the best thing to do that with because it's something that's constantly accruing value and it's something that you don't need to go to university to learn. You can do so if you want to, but it can also be something that you can pick up along the way. And there are a lot of people to train you. Now, with myself, I'm a visual learner. So sometimes going into a classroom is not the best for me, but shadowing somebody on the actual job, that's what works best for me. So when it came to starting my property business, which is Rema Housing, I knew that I needed to learn a bit about property, but I knew that I couldn't go back to the school setting. So I joined a what you call an academy. It was very laid back. It was full of property billionaires, different mentors, and it went at such a pace that it was suitable for everybody. So from that, I launched my property business, which is centered solely around social housing. And for
Wow.
those of you that don't know what social housing is, it just means that I'm providing homes to people that need it. So that can be victims of domestic violence. It can be people that have grown up in the foster care system and they're 18, so now they need their own home. And it can also be for asylum seekers too. So it can be a process where I'm helping people, but of course, you can make a lot of good money from it as well. Does that answer it?
Yeah, and that's so interesting. And you have a video where you talked about, me and my sister stepped out on faith because we wanted to serve our community.
Yes.
Neither one of us had a real estate background. We didn't really understand property, but we knew that's what we wanted
Yes.
to do because we wanted to make a difference. And like we've talked
Yes.
about with so many of our entrepreneurs from all over the world, is
Mm-hmm.
that when you have that passion for your community and you have a
Yes.
passion for something you want to do, it is amazing when you put that passion into your work, the money will come.
It's
And
true.
And like we said before we started recording, so many kids tell me they want to get into a similar business. The home flipping. I want to get a real estate license and flip
Yeah,
homes. And because social media, let's face it, social media, even in the UK, really makes us look like a glamorous industry.
it
But
does.
it really does, and it seems like it's quick money. But there's a lot of things you have to
Hmm.
learn. You got to learn to deal with a lot of people and be that
Yes,
steady influence and have those great customer service skills. So,
yes.
talk about what you had to learn to be a property entrepreneur, and maybe some of the things that people don't understand takes place because it is not just let's take pictures in front of this house in our cute clothes and say, "Hey, we got money."
Well, I'll talk about the numbers first. Now, a lot of people don't realize that although you're decorating, you're refurbishing, numbers play a big part in property. Now, you don't have to be perfect with numbers, but you need the correct formulas. So, for example, myself, I do not like maths. So I have an Excel, I do not like maths at all. I have an Excel spreadsheet that I spent a couple of hours formulating it. So when I'm now doing the numbers for different houses, I can just put the figures in and it calculates it for me. That really allows me to maximize my time without, figuring out, okay, this means this if I take out this. So it gives myself a lot of time to see quickly, oh, okay, this profit will be X amount, this ROI will be this. So it allows me to play around with the numbers. A lot of people don't realize how big numbers are in property, but it is very big. You don't essentially want to get a number slightly wrong and then all of a sudden you've not got enough money for the project and then you're dipping into money from elsewhere, which takes out of maybe your personal finances. So with property, you really have to think ahead. A lot of people like to live in the now. Oh, this house is nice, let me buy this. Okay, but you also need to research what happened to the house, who owned the house, why are they selling, you know, what sort of area, the crime rate in the area, what's going to be built. Is there something that's possibly going to increase the value over time, or is it something that's possibly going to decrease the value over time? So property is also a lot of research. It can be quite tedious and boring, but when you find that deal that has the nice numbers, it genuinely is worth it. And I say another thing that people don't realize as well, property is a people's game. You do not have to be professional. You don't have to speak with a certain level of etiquette. People genuinely work with you, not because of your business, but because of who you are as a person. And I didn't realize that when I, started. I came with all the jargon, X, Y, and Z. And then people just spoke to me how they speak to their everyday friends. So the more people that you know in property on a genuinely friendly level, it genuinely helps because now I have a team of contractors, plumbers, decorators, all these different kinds of people who are genuinely so down to earth. And I know that if I need a project in this certain area, I can call this person because I've worked with them before. So I'd say networking is also very much overlooked when it comes to property.
Oh, big time.
Big time. Your network genuinely is your net worth. And I found that out from the very beginning. Now, I've been blessed, and my sister's also been blessed, that investors actually come to us. Even at the beginning of our business, investors just seem to be drawn to us. So, knowing them and speaking to them, they then recommend you to other people. And then all of a sudden, you don't need to pay for advertising because word of mouth is free and it's flowing around. So, how you conduct yourself with one customer or with one client genuinely reflects how your business will go. So, one thing I'd say I overlooked the networking part. I'm good with it now, but in the beginning, I didn't expect to be speaking to so many different people. And funnily enough, people actually message you just to check in on you, even if they're doing other projects and they ask you, oh, okay, I'm going to be in this area at this date. Do you have any work for me then? And it just allows you to build a consistent relationship with different contractors, different vendors, which of course means that your business is going to do better in the long run because you know that if your tenant needs something, then essentially you have a contractor who's there to do it for you.
Yeah, and that's a great segue to what I want to talk about next because right now we're talking about in class how to gain a competitive advantage on
Hmm.
your competition. because you're in one of the largest cities in the world, one of the
Yeah.
most diverse cities in the world, and a business that, like we said, is very attractive when it comes to social media. So, how do you set yourself apart and have that competitive advantage when it comes to a market that is always going to have a lot of people trying to get into it?
The biggest competitive advantage that I'd say I probably abuse is the fact that I'm a twin and everybody loves twins. I'll be completely honest. Everybody loves to work with twins. I don't know why. But because, from the minute I realized that, I shifted my marketing. Now, a couple of years ago, marketing, you'd have to pay X, Y, and Z for somebody to do this for you. But with the platforms that we have today, if you know the value that you can offer somebody, and you can simply just post videos on TikTok, post videos on LinkedIn, post videos on Instagram, you don't actually have to do too much, and the right person will see your videos. Now, the one thing I would also say, if you know what you have to offer, it also allows you to enter the correct rooms sooner. So because I wanted to enter social housing straight away, I knew that, okay, I need to speak to people that work within the council. I need to speak to social housing providers. I need to speak to work with police departments to actually understand where the demand actually is. But if I went into property thinking, oh, I don't know what I want to do, let me have a hand at everything, it would have been a lot harder because Airbnb is so popular. Flipping
Right.
houses is very popular, but it's about the work behind the scenes. So people see, oh, we bought the most, rundown house on the street and we turned it into this amount. But okay, but you don't see that it actually sometimes it takes a year. It's not quick money. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes you can flip the house and it won't sell. You genuinely have to do the market research and have a contingency in place, but also allow yourself to receive help from other people, allow yourself to receive advice from other people as well. Speak to people who want to do what you want. No, speak to people who do what you want to do, sorry. So get advice from them. This went wrong. This went right, like this result happened because I did this. It's a lot quicker to learn from other people than to take everything on yourself and then make the same silly mistakes over and over again. Because with property, unfortunately, a small mistake can cost so much.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, even if it's money, even if it's time, it genuinely can cost you so much.
Now, you mentioned something a second ago that I think is important because you said you had a job in sales and you thought
Yeah.
it was the sales you didn't enjoy, but obviously you're a great salesperson because you sold us on why we should become a property entrepreneur. Now, but here's the thing. Why is sales such an important skill when it comes to
Hmm.
entrepreneurship? Because I know I can speak for every teacher that's going to see
Hmm.
this. Because we're twisting these kids' arms to get up and speak and learn how to speak in front of a group or even a small group. I know
Hmm.
you speak all over Europe. I've spoken to big groups, so I'm comfortable with it. But
Hmm.
we're a little bit older. The social media has taken over these young people to where they lose that ability to communicate. So if you're ever going to be successful in business, whether you're an
Hmm.
entrepreneur or not, why are sales skills so important? Because look, you can have the best idea in the world, you can have great
Hmm.
customer service, you could design the best advertising campaign ever, but if you don't have that ability to sell face to face and be
Yeah.
confident in what you're speaking about, it's going to be really hard to be in business.
It is. So essentially, s- you're always going to be selling something, whether it's a product, whether it's your skills, whether it's yourself. But the main thing to know is that when you communicate, you need to know what you offer. The more confidence that you have, the easier it is to sell. For example, when I meet people, because I know what I have to offer, I automatically sell myself. I don't mean to, but I automatically sell myself. I will introduce myself as a property entrepreneur and a public speaker. And that's me selling the fact that I'm a property entrepreneur and a public speaker. So that brings me bookings. So the more comfortable you are with understanding who you are and what you have to offer, the easier it is to sell. If you sell something that you don't know, you will start stuttering. You won't sound as certain. People really buy confidence. And, I'm a marketplace Christian. So I post about it all the time. So people will come up to me And they will say, "Oh, Aisha, you're the marketplace Christian. Why? Because that's how I'm selling myself on LinkedIn. That's the thing that people see, and that because that's the thing that I'm showing people. So people know me for property. They know me for being a Christian. They know me for being an entrepreneur, and they know me for being a twin. Why? Because that's the information that I've sold to you. It doesn't have to be you. I'm telling you this, you pay for this. That's not always the case. Even a simple conversation can also be a sale. But the more you flow and you speak to people as they're humans, not as robots, the easier it is to sell. I used to hate the thought of sales.
Yeah.
I used to hate it, but then I realized, oh, wait, I'm actually selling myself every day. So that's how you become comfortable with it over time.
Big time. Now, you mentioned something there, and I wanted to talk about this before I start getting to their questions. Is
Mm-hmm.
part of your mantra and part of your marketing skills and
Mm-hmm.
part of your whole package is do you package yourself as a Christian-owned company?
Yes.
Now, I've heard a lot of people say, "Well, I'm a big Christian, but I don't want to I don't want to advertise as a Christian-based company because I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
push people away." But
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's working for you. So if we have a lot of people that are kind of scared to take that leap because they're worried about offending or they're worried about putting themselves in a box. So
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is encouraged to do the same thing, why is
Yeah.
that something that you think could work if somebody really has that belief?
Incorporating faith into your business can it can give your business so many blessings so long as you understand how to respect other people. So I'm a marketplace Christian, but I work with Muslims, I work with atheists. I don't box myself off to only working with Christians because that's not Christ-like to me. So because I know who I am and I know my faith, it pushes me further and it also allows people who don't know my faith to see, oh, okay, this is what a Christian is. This is how Christians operate. Now, I also work with Christians who don't want their business to be Christ-centered, and they don't want people to know, what their religion. They want to, keep politics separate, may you call it. So I completely understand. From my perspective, it's blessed my business so much because again, I'm helping people. But
Yeah.
I don't mind if somebody doesn't want to work with me because I'm a Christian. I don't see it as a loss. There are plenty other people that you can work with. Everybody that I work with, clearly they were brought to me for a reason. But it just depends on the outlook that you have on life. And it also depends on the confidence that you have in yourself. Of course, people, especially today, people are going to find a problem with everything. So if you're scared to put your true self out there, then what is it that you're really selling?
There you go. Man, God, that
Yeah.
is such a quote. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I get to their questions is you
Hmm.
started to venture into the corporate speaking as a keynote speaker at a lot of conferences. You're helping
Yes.
people build their brand. And I think that is
Yes.
such a big obstacle for every entrepreneur, whether it's property
Yes.
entrepreneurship or not. So everybody in this class has created their own business concept. And we've got everything from barbecue to home health to
Okay.
dance to tech to student
Hmm.
solutions, you name it. We've got some great ideas. So if somebody is trying to figure out their brand, and obviously, look, we know when you're in secondary school, you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you're in
Yeah.
that mindset of, I don't have that much money, so I don't know if I can pay for this.
Yeah.
So, the big thing to have is, how do you market yourself to the market that you want, not the market that you're in? So, what are some strategies that you give people to build their brand and become successful in
Hmm.
the market?
The first thing I always say to people that I'm mentoring, think of 2 or 3 words that you want people to think of when they think about you. So, for example, myself, I want people to think of faith, entrepreneurship, and public speaking. So that's how I market myself. So think of the 3 words that you want people to think of you, strangers, your friends, your family, how you want people to perceive you, and market yourself in that manner. It can be as simple as posting something on LinkedIn, giving tips, writing videos, sorry, speaking in videos. So it depends on what you're comfortable with, but ensure that essentially for a little while you become the brand that you want to be. And
Awesome.
in terms of starting with money, I understand that's a limiting factor for a lot of people. But what a lot of people don't realize is that investors don't always market themselves as investors. You don't know who you are speaking to. So the more that you put yourself out there, somebody can say, "Oh, I want to invest in you." And they may not actually even be an investor already, but they believe in the vision because you sold it as a vision that can actually come to fruition. So it generally just depends on the confidence that you have in knowing yourself and in knowing your business. Nobody's going to want to invest in a business where the owner comes across as timid, they stutter, they can't put across essentially what their business vision is, their business mission. So the more knowledge that you have about what it is that you want to curate and what it is that you want to provide, you never know. An investor could message you. Facebook is there full of investors. LinkedIn full of investors. People won't always say that they are investors, but they will ask you questions and they will see what you post. And that leads me on to another thing. How you treat people as well is very, very, very important. You don't know who they actually are, and you don't know
Man,
the
tell me
people
about it.
that they know. So the more better that you put yourself across, they could introduce you to someone that could fund your whole business. So I say take that 3 words, treat everyone the same, market yourself as the person that you want to be, become your brand.
Yeah, and just I got to tell a quick story because you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
about you never know who somebody is. When I
Yeah.
before I started teaching, I applied for a job at a similar place that used to be in the corporate world,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally put my phone down for 30 seconds, went to the restroom, came back, I had a missed call. It was literally that quick. So I was like, oh great. So I was really interested in the job. I called, voicemail, left her a voicemail, never got a call back. Called back 2 days later, left another voicemail, never got a call back. Fast
Mm-hmm.
forward 6 months. This same woman is looking at me across a workstation at a cell phone
Mm-hmm.
store, and I made her about 8 shades of red because I reminded her that she did not call me back for that job. Now, that wasn't the most mature thing in the world to do, but that just goes to show you never know who you're going to run into.
It's
If
true.
we'd have had a positive interaction, that whole way, even if I had not taken that job, that whole thing could have gone completely different. So,
Yes.
you know, you never know who you're going to run into in the business world. It is so important to always think, I may see this person again.
It's
But
very true.
I do want to get to these questions. These are really good.
Yeah.
This first one is Quenisha Kennedy. She's in 11th grade, and this is a good question. She goes, "Did you and your sister both have the same motivation to become entrepreneurs?"
Actually, we did. Funnily enough, my sister was more interested in property from a younger age. It only came to me, I think, about a couple of weeks before we started the business. With myself, I always knew that I want to make money, but I just didn't know how. I didn't
Yeah,
necessarily mind how, so long as it's something that had longevity to it.
there you go.
So yeah, and luckily enough, we're both like-minded in terms of business and being motivated and wanting to see results. So when we work together, it actually works very well.
That's awesome. And it goes to show you, sometimes to go into business with a partner, sometimes it takes different motivations and sometimes it
Yes.
takes different skills.
Yes.
Two people that are good at the same thing may not be the best fit, but if one person's good at the
Mm-hmm.
numbers, one person's good at the sales, it is
Yeah.
amazing how you can work together like that. So that
Yeah,
is
it's
that is really
true.
cool. I like this one. This is Jacayla Cross. She's in 10th grade. Really interested in Asian culture. Wants to start some type of Asian dance, Asian art type deal. And
Mm-hmm.
she asked, "What mistakes should new entrepreneurs avoid?"
Ooh. A mistake that new entrepreneurs should avoid to begin with is thinking too wide, is not having your own niche. Now, dance is amazing, but there are so many different genres and there are so many different people that you can market to. You need to know who you want to target, even if it's something you want to target kids, you want to target adults. Know what you have to offer and know who you want to target. And before you launch the business, see if there is a need for that demand. So just always have a look. Don't just launch a business because your heart just wants to. Have a look at the feasible side to things. If I launch this business, I know that, for example, I'm going to have 50 clients waiting for me. So market research before you start. And that's something that entrepreneurs, they do overlook quite often.
Big time. I got time for two more. I like this one. This is Tredarius Quinn. He's in 10th grade. Really wants to start
Hmm.
a clothing line. He's already done some research for it.
Hmm.
But he asked, "Does the property value being big or small change the amount of time you spend on that particular transaction?"
Unfortunately not. Even if it's a small amount of profit. Property in general, paperwork, talking to the banks, working with investors, property overall, it takes a while. Sometimes the bigger the property deal, the longer it takes to go through. For example, if I'm buying a £1 million property, it's going to take a lot longer to curate that £1 million rather than me buying something for, sorry, you guys are dollars, aren't you? $1 million. So it's going to take a while. So it just depends on the figures that you're working with, the banks, whether they're paying cash, whether it's on auction. So it genuinely just depends. I'd say one thing is know how it is that you want to work because, for example, I prefer working with cash. It's much quicker. But if somebody's working with bridging, if someone's working with mortgage, then it's going to take a lot longer as well. So there's always pros and cons to different things, but don't look at a big deal and think, oh, this is going to take a while. It may not. The bank may actually be quick. You can get it closed in what, maybe 3 months. But then another deal may be smaller. It may take about 9 months or so.
Love it. All right, I got one more, and I love this question. And something we talked about before we started recording is I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't realize a lot of the same issues we have in the United States, you face the same issues in the United Kingdom. There's,
Yeah.
and look, both countries have made unbelievable advancements to have more equitable entrepreneurship, to
Yeah.
really diversify the entrepreneurship faces. So he asked, this is Elijah Dawson, he's in 10th grade, and he asked,
Mhm.
what are some of the ups and downs you faced as a black business owner in the UK?
I actually faced more problems in the 9 to 5 than in the business, believe it or
Wow.
not.
I can actually
Yes.
believe that. I can believe that.
Yeah. So a lot of the problems came from my colleagues rather than actual clients. And now that I'm, a black woman and I own a business, I sort of know who to work with and who not to work with. And people who won't want to work with me won't approach me. So when you're a business owner and you're relying on people to speak to you and to come to you, people that don't like you for who you are naturally will just go to somebody who looks like them. And that's fine. That but it's not fine, but that's how it is, unfortunately. But you have to sort of have thick skin and don't take everything to heart. Sometimes people they're around different cultures, but maybe they don't know how to speak to you. So sometimes somebody may cause you offense, but they genuinely don't mean to cause you offense. Now, I'm very big on communication. So if somebody's offended me, I'd pull them to the side and I'd say, oh, this offended me, and this is why. Now, if that person genuinely didn't mean it, I know that that wouldn't happen again, and you get an apology. But if it's something that happens over and over again, you think, oh, okay. And that's when it comes to reporting it higher if you're in a 9 to 5. Or if you're in a business, okay, I won't work with this person again. So sometimes you have to just cut ties and also listen to word of mouth and sort of look at the type of clients that people post. Some people will be very clear with their target market and with their clientele. And you can tell, some businesses are very diverse in how they represent themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of companies have, DE&I, but they don't actually adhere to it. They just have it for the sake of having it. So it's all about, even if you want to work a 9 to 5, speak to one thing I always did when I applied for a job. I messaged 5 random people from the company before applying and I asked them how it was. And that actually saved me so much time from companies that mistreat their workers or companies that maybe made black people feel a certain type of way. It saved me so much time. And then I've had companies that say, oh, no, everyone's inclusive here, everyone's, supportive. And I've gone for that kind of company because, not everybody wants the everyday battle of being a black person. But one thing I would say in business, as a business owner, I've not encountered many clients that have had an
That's
issue
awesome.
with me because I put my face on my business. So you can see that I'm a black woman. So if you don't want to work with me, you won't essentially message me or communicate with me. But a lot of people use just their logos. So you can't actually see the person behind the brand. And so when you come face to face with someone, then you think a bit of a shock. You think, oh, you're black, you're this person. So yeah, so I'd say put yourself out there as your brand, but also just don't take things to heart. You've
Yeah.
got to just have thick skin, move on, get on with it. At the end of the day, this is your business. You don't want somebody else's feelings to deteriorate your business.
Awesome. Well, and that is such a great way to explain that. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. But a couple things before we go.
Mhm.
First of all, RemaHousing.uk. RHEMA housing.uk is the website.
Yeah.
And also, all your socials are on there. And something I always say, these kids are always following these funny people and these rappers and people and celebrities on social media, and that's fine. I'm a big sports fan, and I'm actually a huge fan. I'm actually a huge fan of Liverpool. I'm a huge
Oh.
Liverpool FC supporter, so I like following some of the soccer. I'm sorry, the football players over there in the UK. But at the end of the day, I like finding things that are positive. I like finding
Yes.
people that can give me financial advice, people that can give me life advice,
Yes.
people that can give me business advice. And you're doing such a great job of that. So tell us where we can find you on YouTube to see some of your content and some of your things on Instagram.
So on all platforms, my names are the same. So it's Aisha T'earna. On Instagram and TikTok, it's Aisha T'earna, all lowercase, no apostrophe. But then on LinkedIn and on YouTube, it's Aisha T'earna with the apostrophe after the T. So you can find me on there. I reply on all social media platforms. I post videos frequently, talking about navigating the marketplace, how to advance your career, and of course, I offer one-to-ones for anyone who wants a one-to-one as well. That's just booked via my website.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you got some great content. We encourage everybody to go look. But the last thing
Thank
before we
you.
go, like
Hmm.
we said, in the UK, the US, similar obstacles that these
Yep.
kids are going to face. So, what can they do to prepare themselves to be a successful entrepreneur and overcome those same obstacles that they're going to face, no matter who they
Mhm.
are?
The biggest piece of advice is to know who you are. If a business has an owner and the owner is confused about where they want to go, the business is going to struggle because the business reflects yourself.
There
If
you
you want
go.
to succeed in life, you need to know who you are and what you have to offer. You need to know what you like and what you don't like, where you want to go and where you don't want to go, the
There
countries
you
that you
go.
want to enter and the countries you don't want to enter. You need to have a clear vision and speak with confidence when you're telling people who you are. That's the most important thing for entrepreneurs. It's about you and then it's
Wow.
about your business.
Wow, man, that is some good stuff. Well, we thank you so much for fitting this in your schedule. But again, the owner, a co-owner of Rhema Housing, all
Yeah.
the way from London across the Atlantic in the United Kingdom, my friend Aisha T'earna. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
taking some
Thank
time
you
for
so
us
much for
today.
having me. God bless you.
I talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye bye.